Hello, everyone. Thank you very much for joining us on this next LinkedIn Live by Tribal Impact. My name is Justina Brownbridge, and I am the Chief of Growth for Tribal Impact. And I have an absolute pleasure to be joined today by Nadia Vieira from LinkedIn. Hello, Nadia.
Hi, Justina. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for joining us. Nadia and I will be discussing the subject of how to build online communities. And Nadia has been heavily involved in building one of the most thriving communities online. That is the LinkedIn Sales Navigator. So plenty of lessons learned there and hopefully plenty of tips to take away for our audience from this conversation. Now, just before we start, I've got just a few housekeeping pieces of information for you. So as always, we will have a recording of this chat available on our website later on this week. And also from tomorrow, you will be able to listen to it in a podcast format via our B2B social growth podcast, available again on our website or via Spotify, Apple Podcast, or any other major podcast tool providers. So if at any point you have to drop out, then don't worry, you'll be able to watch the recording of this session. If you have any questions, please feel free to put them into the chat and I will happily read through those questions and get you involved in the conversation live through reading those questions to Nadia. So Nadia, thank you once again for joining us. For those of you who don't know you, can you please just give us an introduction of who you are and what it is that you do in LinkedIn?
Of course. First of all, thank you for inviting me. I'm very proud to be talking to Justina, who's one of our top community members, highly engaged. So really want to recognize her for all that she's been doing for us, and I thank her for also inviting me. My name is Nadia Vieira, and Vieira, like you were saying, Justina, really well. I've been part of LinkedIn for the last 4 years, and I'm managing a team that we called Customer Success Global Scaled Programs. And so part of my team, we manage the programs that are for some of our customers that are not CSM supported. And so one of those is our customer community. So our customer community is available for all our customers that have access to Sales Navigator. And I've been working with the community specifically for 4 years. So I was a previous senior program manager for the community, so heavily involved on the day-to-day operations of community management, but also setting up the strategies to grow and drive engagement within the community.
Excellent, thank you. So for those people who are not part of the community or have never heard of the community, what was the reason why you decided to start it, and how did you gather people in order to start the conversation with them?
That's a great question. So I wasn't here when the community was founded, but I've joined the year after, or a few months after the community was founded. So I was really in those first couple of months where the community were still growing and establishing itself. But the Sales Navigator community, as I mentioned at the beginning, is available for all our customers that have a Sales Navigator license. So if you are a customer today and you're not aware, then I would recommend you to go to the product, and then within that question mark at the top, you can see all our resources to support you, and one of them is the community. And so the community was founded in 2017 and has been growing massively since then. So I would say that year over year we're growing our numbers, and we're growing also the engagement of our members, which is also exciting. And so the goal when we created the community and when I joined this specific team as well was we had 3 main goals specifically. The main one was to connect our customers with their peers so that they can learn from each other. So that was one of the main goals that we had with this community. The second one was ensure that so all our customers and all our members were always updated and were aware of all the product features and all the important updates that we needed to communicate to them as well. So this was really, it is really like a channel that we use to communicate with our customers at scale. And the third one is really to give them the opportunity to continuously share feedback with us. So product feedback has been one of our main priorities as well. We want to make sure that we're listening to our customers, getting their feedback, so really driving that voice of customer. and helping close the loop around what we're hearing from customers and what our product teams can eventually do. So how can we meet in the middle to provide the best experience to our customers so that they're healthier customers and more satisfied customers. So this is really why we decided to create it. I think when it comes to creating a new community, there's a few steps. I'm not sure if you want me to go through those now.
Please, what were they?
So I think that first of all, I want to call out a few things because while I was preparing for this, I was reading about like the recent metrics of community, or recent statics of community stats, and I saw that there was a Forest report that found that 60% of businesses own a branded online community. I think that's incredible. Like 60%, more than half of the businesses actually own an online community. And if we were to maybe like look at this number, I don't have that, but if we were to look at this number for like 4 years ago or 5 years ago, I bet that it increased a lot because a lot of companies are now realizing that they need to offer a place for customers to not only listen to them, but also have that two-way approach of like, I'm listening to you, but I can also reach out to you. I can also talk to you and your customers, which is I want to make sure that I can find people that are like me. And then the other stat that I thought was interesting was that also on the company side, 90% of the communities say that suggestions that have been shared in the community help them improve their products and their services. And then 85 of them say that the community has improved the customer experience overall. 85. And I would say if you're from a customer success world, customer experience is really important. I would say it's important for all different departments within a company. And so from my experience, specifically when it comes to, why the communities are so important, it's really because they support organizations with the tools to help drive this customer success at scale. And so on the steps, I think that I have a few steps here, but I'll share a few, and then Justina, you can have follow-up questions, so I'll elaborate more if you want to. But the first thing that you need to do is really understand if this is for you. If you don't have a community today, why? What is your goal? What are you trying to achieve? Do you have buy-in from your leadership team? Is this something that you already discussed with them? Because you're not going to build a community from night to day. You need time to strategize. And so once you have that, then you need to really work around the goal and how are you going to measure the success of that community. And then when it comes to actually building it, you need to understand how are you going to build that? What are the teams that you need? Internal teams, external teams. What are the relationships internally that you need to develop with product team, with marketing? So there's multiple relationships that you need to develop. But then the last one that I want to call out is the community strategy. You cannot build a community if you don't know what you're going to do. So you need a strategy around two main pillars, which is how you're going to grow your community, how are you going to get people to know that it exists and to actually join the community. And then the second one is how are you going to drive engagement? How will you make sure that once they're there, they will continue to come and they will want to be part of this experience, part of this community family that you're building for them as well.
So for me, I'm just making notes. I could summarize it with 3 questions that you need to ask yourself before building a community. The first one, and sounds like the most important one, is why? Why do you want to build your community? What is the purpose? What is the goal you would like to achieve through building your community? The second one is how you are going to build this. Yes, so what steps will you take in order to build the framework, build the system, build the place where the conversation would happen. And then the third one is how you are going to drive the engagement of the members. What was your why then? What was the why behind? Oh, you've already mentioned that actually. You've already mentioned what was the why behind the LinkedIn Sales Navigator community?
Our community, I think like that's when you think about the communities, there's many whys, right? There's communities that serve different purposes. There are communities that are more support driven in a way that they want people to help each other and they want to help with case deflection. So they want to make sure that people are asking questions within the community and they're not, and our support team doesn't have to deal with like a big increase of questions. There are communities that are more focused on the product side of things. They want to make sure that they're empowering customers to share product feedback. So the product piece and the ideation is really important as well. And then there's other communities that are really focused on the best practices as well. I think that our community, when I joined, we were primarily focused on the best practices and the ideation as well. And then we realized, how can we make these things better? Because I think that when you start a community, you can say, okay, I have all those goals. Great. Do you have resources to achieve all those goals? Can you prioritize? Because maybe if you're a team or one or two, you need to prioritize, and you need to identify, what is my P0, where is my P1, what are my first priorities that I want to make sure that I'm achieving, so that I can go to my leadership team and say, we've achieved this, let's move on to the next one. And then you can add, because one thing, and I think, Justina, we spoke about this in the past, is that when you give something to your customers, it's really difficult to take it back. So before you commit to doing something, or doing a lot of things, maybe commit to doing fewer things, but do them really well. And once you're comfortable with that level, then you can add more things, and you can grow your community with your membership. So you can grow as your members are growing and as their needs will evolve as well.
Mm-hmm. I love this. I love these tips about figuring out the goals. Yes. So something that you can also measure, and something that you can then look at and provide the feedback also to senior management, yes, of the company, to say, okay, this is the kind of results that we are driving through this community. This was the initial goal. This is the kind of results we achieved. This is the first step. This is the second step. This is where we aim in to go with this next.
Exactly. Yeah. I think the alignment with your organization, your business priorities is critical. So you need to connect your community and your goals with what the business is looking at. If there's no alignment, then you're going to be working on separate things. And there needs to be alignment, not just with community, with everything, marketing, all those departments. We are all connecting to one mission, and all that we're doing should align with that.
Brilliant. That's a brilliant tip. Okay, so we've got the goals, we've got the why. Where do we start then in terms of gathering people
to do it? How do we do that? So I think I said at the beginning, the first thing would be, I would just focus on like really getting that executive buy-in, making sure that you align with your business goals. Like, you won't be able to be successful if there's no alignment. The other thing is really making sure that, what you mentioned as well, Justina, your metrics. What are you going to measure? How are you going to know that you're going to measure these things? Because when you're building the community, you need to know that. You need to know how you're going to measure these things. Then when it comes to building the community, you need to decide where you're going to host that community, what type of platform, what are you going to use, what are the teams that you need to make that happen? Because again, if you rely on other teams, it all goes around the prioritization topic. How can you build a business case to bring those teams along the journey and understand and make them understand that this is a project that they'll need to prioritize, that they'll need to support you with. So that communication with stakeholders is really, really important when building and when identifying how you're going to do it. To your question around how you're going to get people to join and how you're going to do that, there's a lot of relationships that you can do. And so think about the teams, and depending on the size of your company, like all companies or most companies will have these specific priorities or teams focus on these things, but maybe it's not just one single team. Maybe it's like, one team that aggregates all of this. So I'll mention a couple things, but you can think about, okay, where does this fit within my organization, depending on, my segment, my size, my industry, your company better than I do. And so I think that the first thing is really making sure that there's in-product integration in a way that it's easy for customers to know that your community exists, right? Because if they're using a product or a service and there's no call to action in the homepage or anywhere that says, hey, here's our community, you can't just expect them to find out that you exist. So that product integration, and I'm just saying, like, it's not a full integration, just making sure that there's a link somewhere in your platform that takes people to the community. That is really important. So you need to work with your product team or the team that owns, your specific products and services to make sure that they work with you to understand where is the best place for us to add the CTA depending on the customer journey. So you need to think about, like, when you have a customer, and depending on what they do, the actions that you want them to do, where exactly will this community call to action fit? The second thing is thinking about other teams that might also be connected to the customer. And that could be marketing or product marketing. And how do they do this is, Some of them have social media channels. Some of them are owning emails, so they can add call to action within their email. Others might do other, in product announcements. So that connection and that relationship with teams that are customer facing is really important. And on the customer facing front, I'm going to call out a really, really important stakeholder for your success, which is your customer success and your sales teams. So customer success could be your account managers, depending on, who's customer facing, and your sales teams could be, the ones that are driving new business or are driving renewals as well. Those people are the ones that are building on a daily basis relationships with customers. And so they're your biggest and better and best partners, because they can explain to the customer the value of your community. They can help you talk to customers in that sense, because you're not going to reach all the customers, because we don't own, a community doesn't own each specific customer. It's kind of like we're serving all customers in our case. So how do we partner with these teams so that they can, speak on our behalf and make sure that our customers know that we exist? And the same goes, for example, with support. If you have a support team that is dealing with support cases or talking to customers, again, on a daily basis, they can be your best friends as well, because they can encourage customers. Someone reaches out to them with a specific question, they can say, hey, by the way, did you know we also have this community where you can also talk to people that might have had the same challenge or that want to implement the same thing that you're implementing? So support, sales, customer success, any team that is customer facing is really, really important, I would say, to make this a success. And then to finalize, I would say, Justina, to your question around like how do we get people to join on these relationships with sales and customer success, or like our customer facing teams, the ones that own these relationships, they're really important if you want to run the pilot. So if you want to, let's say that you don't have a community and you want to start with like a small group of people before you actually grow, you can engage with these people, because they can tell you like, oh, I have the best customer for that. So you can reach out to these people that have those relationships to understand, if I want to get a group of like 100 customers that are really engaged before I expand this to all my audience, who can I reach out to? Who can I invite? Who do you have? Or who are you engaging with that would share with us good feedback that would probably resonate with all the customers that we have, or most of the customers. So these customer facing teams can be important, not only for driving the awareness, but if you want to grow or set up a community and you don't know where to start, you don't know who to invite, they can be your biggest partners there.
So my biggest takeaway from this, to summarize, would be to partner with various teams around the organization to help you promote the community.
Yes.
Okay, brilliant. So just taking a tiny step back, because there's something that you mentioned, which I know that quite a lot of people are thinking about at the moment, and that is where to host their community. And I know you've got a vast knowledge on this subject. So I was just wondering if you could maybe just give an overview for our audience of what sort of options there are available when it comes to hosting communities online.
I think like it depends on your company, to be honest with you, Justina. Depends on the needs that you have. It depends on what you want to set up, because you can go with, set up a community on LinkedIn if you want to. You can do that. You can have a LinkedIn group and you can have your LinkedIn page and you can have your community there. You can create your own community. There's a lot of communities that, and a lot of companies that actually built their own community platform, and they are, improving their community experience on a day-to-day. And there's also like third-party providers. So there's a few third-party providers that specialize in the community industry and they can support you. So I feel that I would break it down in like, what are like tools that you might be using already, like LinkedIn or any other platforms? Do you have the bandwidth to build your community? And if you do, and if that's something you want to invest in, you have developers in house to do that, that's a good one. Or you can go with a third party as well, which is another option that you can have. So I would say if you type on Google, you will be able to find a few of those, and you can decide which one suits you and your organization the best.
Okay, brilliant. That's great too. So we've had all of these teams gathering together to promote the community, to promote the idea of the community, to get people to start at least visiting the place where the community, the conversations are being started, I would imagine by community managers. how do you maintain engagement? How do you start people to get engaged? Maybe let's start with that. And then how do you maintain that engagement? Because I think this is where a lot of communities die, for no better word, for lack of better word to use. You gather the people, and then there is not enough of engagement happening, and at some point people just stop visiting the place or stop getting interested in the conversation. So what are your tips that you could share, Nadia, with your audience on how to maintain that momentum and continuously get people involved in the conversation?
Of course, I'll share with you what we usually do and what we're doing for ours. But I'd love to hear a perspective as a community member from like many communities. I'm not sure, like, sure we're not the only ones, but I'd love to hear from you as well in terms of like what is important for you as a member of a community. And I can share with you when I'm a member of a community what I'm looking for. And so what we do for our community team is really I think it all comes down to your community strategy. You cannot just have a community and just say, oh, it's gonna like be self-sufficient. People will just be there, ask questions, engage. It's really important to have a specific role for you within your community. So it's important to have a community manager or a community moderator or more people within that community team that will be owning that engagement. They're responsible for making sure that we have one, new content. So there's new content that we're sharing that resonates with our content, with our audience, what our customers are looking for. And then two, these people need to be paying very close attention to questions being asked. So that's what we call moderation. So the moderation of the community and the content creation are the two, I would say, highlights that I think are critical for any community and engagement strategy. And so for that, again, it's really important to align with your customer priorities. You need to know what your customers care about, what are their goals, what are their challenges. So when you're creating content, you are addressing their needs. Because and I'm going to go now and put my member hat, if I go to a community and when I land there, the first post is about something that I care about, I will be intrigued and I will open that comment. And maybe I will leave a comment and be like, why are you saying this? How can I do it better? If it's not resonating with me and totally not aligned with what I'm doing or what I'm looking for, why am I bothering of coming back? So that's my why around that. And so it's really important to have a clear strategy with all the activities that connect to your business as well. Like what are you product, because their priorities and the customer goals will align with what product that they're using from you. And then within content, you can have like specific content discussions, like articles, and you can create events, you can create gamification strategies that could be like creating like competitions to keep people engaged, to reward them by by the contributions that they're making to your community. So within engagement and within content, I think gamification is really important, because I would say when I go to a community and if I take time to leave a comment, or if I take time to share my knowledge, and you say, Nadia, you've done a great job, here's something for you, and that can be a badge or whatever you have around your gamification strategy, I will feel empowered, and the likelihood for me to come back actually is higher, because I see that I'm putting effort, but I'm getting the recognition that I'm looking for. And so I think that's really, really important. But then the last thing that I'll say is really just to make sure that you're not forgetting about the moderation. So if you had to choose, I would say when you're launching a community, I would start with nailing moderation, making sure that you're doing it really well, ensuring that when a customer comes to the community, you're answering their questions within the first 24 hours, if not sooner. Because if their first experience, and usually the first experience that they have is because they go there because they probably need something, right? And if they cannot find an article or a post, they're going to ask a question. If that experience isn't good, then again, the likelihood for them to come back will be lower. And so moderation, I think it's number one. And once you got your rhythm and you understand what works for you, what works for your customers, what are the ETAs, how can you do that, then eventually you can start building more content, because you're going to know what people care about through paying attention to the moderation. You're going to review all those questions. You're going to review all those comments. And so that's going to make your life easier when it comes to, okay, what content do I create? Actually, I know, because I've spent a lot of time talking to these people. So I know what I could create to simplify their lives, to help them to be more self-sufficient and happier customers as well.
I love this, Nadia. This is gold. This is absolute gold. And I have to say, this is so crucial. And whilst you were speaking, I was trying to think what was the first reason, what was the first thing I did when I found LinkedIn Sales Navigator community? And then what happened next? What made me come back? And I think the first thing that I saw within the community that really captured my interest was unique content. So I think there was a product roadmap that was shared. One of the first articles that I saw was a product roadmap, which I haven't seen anywhere else. So this was the first place where I actually found out, the first place that told me what are the things that you are thinking about implementing in the tool. And I thought, oh, this is great. This is brilliant. That is not something I could read anywhere else, or I wasn't aware where else I could get that information from. So that was the first thing that made me think, this is great. This is unique content. So it was unique content that made me pay attention and start reading more. And I think the second thing that happened is I asked a question. So I actually posted a question. And what was really interesting that happened is the moderator of the community, and I can't remember whether it was you, Nadia, it was Eva, or somebody else, replied tagging other people and said, thank you for your question. This is really interesting one. I think that this or this or this person could help you answer this. And I thought, oh, this is brilliant. This is brilliant. And then I was on the receiving front of that I was tagged in a comment by the moderator on another post asking me for opinion. And the fact that the moderators played a key role in driving the conversation and involving other members to provide answers rather than be the ones that provide answers or connect directly to product developers, for me, it meant that community members were learning from each other rather than directly from the company. And yes, that was something, and that is something that it makes me keep coming back, because I know I'm learning. I'm not only learning from the product developers, I'm not only learning from people who are responsible for maintaining the software, improving the software, etc. I am also learning even more from the community members and their experience and their best practice. So yes, that's definitely linking to what you said. So looking at, okay, what is it from the point of view of the community manager versus the community member? Unique content for sure, moderation, and also these competitions. I think this was interesting one as well. Yes, so how else, the fact that you are getting people involved, asking them, for example, what is your favorite feature, or how are you using this feature, to submit your answers. Again, driving the conversation with the view that if you do, there is also this little incentive, which is, yes, sharing the knowledge is the main one, always the main one, but at the same time, there's this little incentive in terms of winning the competition.
Yeah. And I could have not said it better. And I love that. I love all the points, but the one that really resonates with me is the second one, which you mentioned around how we're able to introduce you to people, because that's the whole core of the community, is the ability to bring people together, right? And it's the place where us moderator can help you find your peers if it's easier. But ultimately you're going to find your peers by engaging, because people will talk to each other. They'll tell you things like, oh, I've done that, Jay. Let's talk. And I know that some people actually build connections outside the community. And when I hear that, that's, for me, it's even more fulfilling, because then I know we're doing our job about connecting people. And I am very passionate about communities and about our mission, about bringing people together. I do believe that this really helps us, not only build better products, but also allows other people to be more successful in their day-to-day jobs. That's what we're looking for. So I'm so happy to hear you say that.
Okay, yes, absolutely brilliant. I mean, I can say for myself, I've met a lot of people and I've made a lot of connections, and we've been involved in a variety of different projects, also outside of the community, because of those connections that we made. So it has been certainly a very valuable experience to be able to make those connections, yes, within LinkedIn professionals and outside of the company with all of the community members. So yes, this is definitely, for me, this is the biggest value for sure. Okay, so we talked about high engagement. We talked about building the community. There's a lot of debate nowadays also about AI and how Oh, we're seeing a lot at the moment, right? The conversations regarding how AI will impact our conversations, how AI will impact how we communicate, especially in the written formats. What's your view on this in terms of the AI, and trying to form a question in here? Do you see any risk in terms of AI impacting this kind of communication within the communities?
I can tell, first of all, I'm a very optimistic person. So I think that this will bring opportunities. I don't that's what I think. I think like AI will bring opportunities. It's then on us to identify what are those opportunities and how are we using AI to be able to do our jobs better. And so we also have the opportunity to have a say around how do we want to use AI. To be honest with you, I still need more time to understand, what's happening. How can we use AI in this specific context of online communities? Because, and I understand all the recent advancements in AI and all the conversations that are happening, but I need to understand more. How can this be applied in our day-to-day operations within the community? But I think also what it is important to realize is that we're entering this new era where I think that the important is to be open to learn and change. So we should be open to learn what's out there, what's working, how this, what could we do? Be open to change. To if we feel like we can do things better, why not? We can try. We can give it a go and just see how it works. And so this is important, but it will also be critical to have a critical eye to understand if this aligns with our goals, with our business priorities, and also what is important for us, if this will work or not, right? So I think that the opportunities are out there. Like they're going to be, probably expanding and growing in the next couple of months, but I'm hoping that we will pay a lot of attention and be able to, once we learn and once we have a better understanding of what's possible, can identify how to apply that. And an example of that is that I do think that there might be a lot of, great impact in building new content. I think that maybe building new content will be easier because we'll have access to more information, to accurate information, that I'm hoping for as well. And so this could help like start new content, start new discussions. But I think that when you think about a community, the human and the personal element is key. A community is made of people, and so even if it's online and we can use AI to create content and to create discussions, the people are looking for people. We're looking for our peers. AI can tell us, a lot of information and can be that kind of like counselor in a way, or guiding us through finding out specific routes of doing things. But we will always be driven towards other people. And so community is that place where we can still bring people together. We can use AI probably to build better products, to build better content, but it won't replace people. And so people are the core of a community. They're the heart of a community. And I said this recently in LinkedIn, and Virginia said that we would not be successful without our members. Our members are everything. And so our members won't be replaced. So hopefully that's what I think today, but I'm going to pay more attention and see what's going to happen in the next couple of months.
Yeah, same here. I'm trying to figure out, okay, what is the human element in the communication? And I think for me at the moment, the answer for that is stories, sharing experience, sharing what it is that you, through your own daily encounters in your own professional life, what is it that you can share with your own audience, with your own peers, that is very hard to replace by an AI, I think, right now, at least for now. And I think really, for me at least, I also think that authenticity and having your own style of communication will be really important. I saw an article, someone was writing about AI sounding like the whole internet sounds. Yeah, so there is a very specific way how AI writes, unless perhaps right now you are able to even say to it to make it a bit more conversational, the text that is creating, but still your own style of communication, your own creativity, your own personality, that is something really hard to replace. And that is something that drives trust, right, at the end of the day.
Yeah.
So, but I am still looking closely into how we can use AI maybe to enhance what it is that we do, to amplify what it is that we do. but definitely not replace
I agree. I'm with
our
you. And I think you
human
said something that I would
communication.
highlight, the experiences. The human element of it, and then the experiences that we bring and share with each other.
And we've got a comment from Ryan. 100% agree, Nadia. I'm optimistic about AI community. It's all about people wanting authentic connection. There you go. And I have to say, I had two tabs in here. One was private chat and comments, and I've just noticed that, yes, there's been a few comments. So, for
I have
example,
seen it as well.
yes, I've just clicked on the comments. So, Donna, for example, ask you a question. Do you find the community members are proactively driving the content within the group? So, I guess their own content that they create.
I think some are. Justina, probably for you probably can back me up here, but I think like there are people that once they understand how they can leverage the community as well, and if they're willing to go that extra mile, they're creating content. And I've seen very interesting discussions being started by people sharing like the context around the specific topic, and then asking for feedback, like, how does this resonate with you? Like, is this something you do? Like, and I love how some people are doing a great job in that sense. Like, I will share the context, maybe like create content, but then I'm open to listening from you. And that's why we have this community. So yeah, community members are, I would say, more and more creating content as well. And I think that those are like the top leaders that really want to go the extra mile and help others succeed in their jobs.
I definitely, just to even connect the previous question with this question, one of the most interesting conversations that I've seen on the community, this specific one, was a question posted by Lionel about how are you using ChatGPT for your sales processes? And I
Yes,
found
yes.
this really interesting because, again, this is community members exchanging their ideas of how you can use this tool, how they've used it so far, and what it is that you've learned. So this is a brilliant example of someone starting the conversation to gather feedback and experiences from other people.
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay, so we're getting close to the end of our session. I've had one more question, maybe slightly still related, just not related to Sales Navigator community. So obviously this is something that's you're very much involved in, but what are other communities that you are part of online?
I love this question, by the way, because I think that you need to, how do you say, sell your fish, or live what you have. So I'm definitely part of communities,
Is this
and I,
a Portuguese
I think it's
saying,
probably
sell
like
your fish?
live what you sell. I think that's how you say it, live what you sell. And I think that on the tech world, I have been following, and I know the director of the Gong community as well, and we've met a couple times. I think they're doing a great job. I am very impressed by their approach with creating a unified community experience and brand. I think they did a great job with the community branding and setting up their brand, because I think the community was created like a year ago or 2 years ago tops, and I've been seeing a lot of growth ever since. And I think they're doing a good job as positioning the community as this customer hub that connects all of the resources that are available for customers. And so I think that has been incredible to watch. On the tech world, still, I think HubSpot is doing a great job on the community advocacy side of things. They have a lot of great advocacy programs to recognize people, but also empowering users that really want to be more involved with their brand and with their organization, and help them do certain things like meetups, or have specific advocacy programs for people that want to do that and want to participate more. On a non-tech world, and I think it's because I think if we think about communities, we tend to think, oh, maybe it's more on the tech world. Sephora, so the beauty company, has a great community, and they have great programs around engagement. Justine, we're talking about engagement. They have groups, they have discussions, so they're doing a really good job at having an innovative approach around how do you connect beauty that you don't buy online. You can buy online, but you can go outside and buy it on a shop, with the tech side of things. And they do it really smartly, because let's not forget that voice of customer is key, right? And so if you have customers, let's say in Sephora, what I usually see is people saying, like, praising products, praising a lipstick, praising a specific BB cream. If you read that, you're going to be intrigued, and you're going to be like, maybe I need to buy that. Maybe I need to try. So you can have a very multitude of communities depending on your product, and you can think about creative ways to get customers or non-customers engaged with what you're selling.
Brilliant. Several brilliant examples. Nadia, is there anything else that you would like to leave our audience with? Is there anything that I should have asked you about, but I haven't?
No, I think you covered everything. I would just say, like, if you haven't started your community, strategize. Think first why, the how, the what, the why, and the how, like Justina was saying. And then after you've done that, then you can decide what are you going to prioritize. And instead of trying to do everything at all at once, just prioritize one or two things and then grow your community step by step. If you have a community, think about, and and you have specific challenges, think about your customer needs, your customer goals, and how can you engage and align with that so that you can provide them the best experience within the community, but also within the product. And I think that's it. I'm happy to chat about community anytime. So feel free to add me on LinkedIn.
Excellent. That was my next question. How can people find you? But I think this is pretty
LinkedIn.
obvious. On
Awesome.
LinkedIn. Nadia, it's been absolute pleasure having you here with us. Thank you very much for dedicating the time to this conversation. This conversation, as we mentioned before, will be also published on our podcast and on our resources page on Tribal Impact, if you wish to ever refer to that. And then next week, we'll be talking about how HR can win a social media. So we actually have Maya Tsankova from Coca-Cola HBC. And this is the subject that we'll be covering. So tomorrow at 2 p.m., next week at 2 p.m., same day, please join us. And for those of you who joined, thank you very much. We've got thank you from Luca. And yes, Ryan is sharing some additional pieces of information for you to have a look at, including the next LinkedIn Live. Thank you, Nadia. It's been a pleasure.
Likewise, really love the experience. Thank you for the invite.
Thank you.
Thank you.